Hello guys, welcome to this short video. Alright, so in this video I want to continue the discussion on aggregation in SQL. We already have a video that introduces this particular module, which is a 6 minutes video, and here in this particular one I want to talk about how to actually run this all of these queries, aggregation queries. But to achieve that, we will begin to use the SQLite database management system or software that we installed in week one. Before we go into that, I would like to quickly talk about SQLite. So if you come to module one of this week's content under the Chinook database, you would find a document, a PDF document that was added. So this document says SQLite browser download.pdf. Open it. Let's see the content of this particular document. Now, this document explains and gives you a step-by-step process of getting SQLite browser installed, just in case you're yet to install it. But I believe that almost every one of you have installed this at this point. So this is just the steps to install it. You can go through the documents at your own time. But my focus here is to talk about how to upload a database. Right? Let's scroll to this part, uploading a database file. So at this point, I want to assume that every one of you have been able to create your database in the server and also in your local instance. Yes, well done if you've achieved that. Here I want to show us how to upload an existing database and then how to query that database using SQLite. So we'll be querying database with SQLite because it is light. Uh, it's more interesting to use for to querying of database or for the querying of database. But my SQL is going to be used to manage databases. So we'll learn more about those differences in our next live session. Let's just go ahead and learn how to upload database. Once you have successfully installed and downloaded DB browser for SQLite, to upload, you have to first of all download the sample database found in this particular module. So when you come to this module, you will see the sample database. Let me show you that sample database right here. Okay, so let's get back to the classroom and let's go back. So this is the sample chinook.db database. You have to download this database by clicking on this file. Okay, we'll get back to that document again shortly. So when you click on the file, sorry, I've turned off my airplane mode, so I'm back online. Sorry about that. That was a mistake. I mistakenly put off my data. All right, great. So when you click on that file, it will open up the Chinook database just like this. It has no preview. So the next step you'll have to take is to, come over to this side and hit on the download button, right? So once you download it, the database has been downloaded. So this is it here, chinook.db. Let's get back, so I can close this tab and then get back to the document we're exploring earlier. So now that database chinook.db is downloaded. The next step is to head over uh, the open database tab. So here is the open database tab. You find it around the top menu bar of your browser, DB browser for SQLite, and locate the database file in your downloads folder. So when you click on open database, locate it to your downloads folder. Once it is uploaded, it will display the list of tables and indices that exist in the database. We'll see this practically in a short time from now. Then, to browse the data, we have different parts of this database, of this browser, that I would like to explain to you all. So for one, which is browse data, the browse data tab from using the browse data tab, we can view the data present in the given tables. To view the data, select the table from the drop-down list. So you can see that we have a table tab and select each of these from the drop-down list. Well, I'll show you all of this practically. Let's just go to let's just go to the interface, SQLite interface. So this is my interest, my focus, explaining the interface. Now, when you're ready to start query your data, you go to execute SQL tab. Now you notice that this tab is divided into three parts. The first part is where you write your query. Okay, this is the scripting area. It's called the scripting area, where you put in your queries. The second part is the output generated from the query, while the third part is where all the details of the query running being logged. So that is the log section. So these are the three important parts you see when you're running your query. Okay, yes, now I think we are good to continue. So let's just go back to the classroom. We've downloaded our Chinook database. I have I have SQLite installed. So I'll come over to my desktop, and here is DB browser for SQLite. Double click to open it. All right. Yes. So this is the browser, DB browser for SQLite. We have the menu, the file, edit, view, tools, and help. Now, under the menu bar, there are these tabs. The new database. If you want to create a new database, you hit this button. If you want to open the database you've just downloaded, you click on this. So let's select open database. Then we go to downloads folder and locate our database. All right. So, but what I would advise you to do is to organize your file, properly, appropriately. So I'm going to cut that database from my downloads folder. Come over here, Control X to cut it. I'll take it and paste it inside. So I have a folder already in documents. Let's go to document. I have data files, and I have folder for SQL for data analytics. All right. So this is Chinook tables, and I can just paste my database here. So my database is inside the SQL for data analytics folder. So here's the database. This is the database ERD. So everything that is related to SQL is inside this particular folder called SQL for data analytics. Let's go back to DB browser. So I would come over to open database again, then go to my documents and locate data files. Then open up SQL for data analytics. Here's my database. Click on it and click on open. Immediately click on open, you find the list of tables. So here there are 13 tables. Remember, we were working with 11 tables earlier. So this one is a database that is completely structured, and we've added primary keys to each of the columns that has primary keys. So you can see this particular table, the primary key is the album ID, the artist ID is primary key for artist table, customer's ID is the primary key for customer's table, and so on and so forth. While there are indices, so the indices shows the foreign keys. So on the album artist ID, the album artist ID is a foreign key on the artist table, right? And they are linked together. The artist table is linked on that particular album artist ID. And here are other list of foreign keys that have been used to create relationships with the various tables, just as shown or as seen in our ERD. Great. So let's just minimize this. So this is the browse data section I was showing you earlier that will enable you view the data from one table to another. The selected table is the first table on the list, album. So these are the different data set from this table. We can alter the records from here. If you want to choose the second table, you can click on this drop down, select artist to display the all the records under the artist table. You can do that for customers, employees, and so on and so forth. That will help you view the data from these tables. Okay. Next, we have the execute SQL. So this is the part of the tool or the software where we'll be running our SQL queries. So you can see my My I bean is blinking, which means that it's ready to take in the queries. So this is the query section or the querying area. And here is the output view. This is where we see your output, and here is where the result will be logged. Great. Now let's head over back to the classroom. Okay, so now we're done. Let's come back to aggregation in SQL, which is our focus. I'm going to open this section. So let's look at this syntax. Now, this is how to go through this course. When you have SQL DB browser opened, you come back to the classroom, you copy each of this line of code and run it there. Now, this is the basic syntax. This is the basic syntax of using how to write aggregation function. First of all, I want to explain comments in SQL. So this line is a comment. The basic syntax for an SQL aggregation query is as follows. So here's a comment. To comment that line, so comment simply means that, okay, you instruct SQL not to read that line of code when trying to execute the query. So just put your double dash. Once you put your double dash, dash, it will change that line to green. So that line is a comment. So it means that if I decide to run the whole of this query, it will ignore this line. It's just a way of, you know, annotating your query. All right. So this is how the basic way, the basic way to use aggregation function. You call the select clause followed by a column name. Then you're performing the aggregation function on the second column rather, and these two columns are from a particular table whose name will be written here, and then you use the group by function. So whenever you're performing aggregation function, like I said in the previous video, you have to perform that aggregation function by group by. Use a group by to aggregate your whatever column you're aggregating. All right, so I'm going to comment all of these lines because I don't intend to run this particular queries. So I'm adding double dash to comment each of those lines. They've all turned green, which means that if I should hit on my run button, how do you run your query? You can see this execute all. This is the button you use to execute your query. Or you can press Ctrl Return or F5 or Ctrl R. Once you do this, it's going to execute. Right now it says execution finished without errors, but there's no output displayed because these are all these lines are comments. So SQL will not read those comments. Let's get back here and okay, just read through all of these aggregation functions. And as we start by aggregating the first one. So let's just go through this quickly. The Chinook database is a sample database, just like I said in the previous video, that represents a music store containing tables like artists, albums, tracks, invoices, customers, etc. Now let's explore some example queries using the Chinook database to demonstrate aggregations. So the first query we want to aggregate here is we are interested in counting the number of customers from each country. Okay, to see how this query works, let's just copy all of this query, Ctrl C to copy it, then go to your DB browser and Ctrl V to paste. This line, let's take it as comment because that is the instruction of what we want to do. So put your double dash, it will convert it to a comment. It says count the number of customers from each country. Now we would examine this query line by line. The first line selects the country, count asterisks and all. Well, before I go into exploring this line, let's first of all, display all the results. Remember, with select all, select asterisks from customers. So we have a customers table. This query would run would display all the results from the customers table. So here is it. Before we go into counting the number of customers from each country, okay, let's first explore what the table looks like. So I can expand this by dragging up. Let me reduce this log output view. So here is the customers table. It has the following columns: customer ID, first name, last name, company, address, city, state, country, postcode, phone, fax, email, and support rep ID. if you want to count the number of customers for each country, it means that you would need to count any of the column. Okay, any of the column. I can even count customer ID if I wish, right? So when we count customer ID, for instance, but the counting is should be done by grouping country, because we want to know how many customers are there in Brazil, for instance, how many customers are there in Germany, how many customers are there in Canada, Norway, and so on and so forth. So it means I'm going to group by country. So it means bring all the Brazils, count all the Brazils that are found on this table, count and record the value, count all the Germany, record the value, count all the Canada, record the value. That's the reason why we group by. So let's look at this query again. It says select country. So I want to display the country. Remember, when you use the select statement, you want to first of all display that column. So here it's showing everything because we did select asterisk, which means select all. If we should select just country, and if I run this query, it displays only the country column. Do you see that? So select country displays just the country column alone. Now select country, and we've added our aggregation function count. That's the first function we want to see how to run. Count asterisk. So count asterisk, we count all the countries. Count all the columns. As don't forget that asterisk means all columns. So count all columns and call it as total customers. So, but because I'm only selecting country, counting all, so this as the count all you can decide to count just a particular column instead of counting all columns. You can decide to count the customer ID or the country itself or any other column there. But let's just go with this first. All right. So as total customers. So what this is saying is, instead of returning count asterisk, instead of returning count of whatever column you've chosen, please call that name total customers. I'm going to run this query without this particular line, and then I'll run it to the line so for you to just see the effect of this line. So I've just commented that line. So let's just select country and count all from customers table. Then we're grouping by country, and let's also ignore this line first of all. We'll come back to it later. So let's run these three lines. So to run your query, highlight the queries you want to run and hit the play button. Do you see what just happened? So it has, this line is comment. So that is why it's still showing you here. Let me just take out this line for now. Let's Control X, cut it and take it out. So let me run the query again. Great. So what do you see? Country and count asterisk. So it's displaying this as a name of a column, count asterisk. And then it's displaying the country column. So these are the two things that you want to display, and that is why they are written just after the select clause. From customers, so this particular selection and counting is done from the customers table, and then I'm grouping by country, which means that count for each country. So it means that Argentina has just one customer. There's just one customer in Argentina. There's just one customer in Australia. There's one customer in Austria, one customer in Belgium. There are 5 customers from Brazil, 8 customers from Canada. In Chile, we have 1. Czech Republic, there are 2. Denmark, we have 1, and so on and so forth. So which means there are 24 countries recorded in this database. So you can see the results. 24 rows returned in 15 milliseconds. There are 24 countries recorded, and we have USA 13. So with this, we have all the countries listed, and then all the number of customers stored in these countries are also listed. So if I should insert back that line of code that I took out earlier, which is as total customers, then instead of returning count asterisk for this column title, it will return total customers. Let's try that. I'm going to run this query again. I'll highlight all and click on run. Now do you see that? So this is actually a term which we are going to discuss more in the future. It's called alias. I'll just call it by its name now, but we'll talk more about it later. So alias is used to just say as as an alias, is used to represent or give a reasonable name to aggregation function whenever you're performing an aggregation function. So with this query, we have returned the count of customers in each country, right, from the customers table, and that's this particular function won't run without adding the group by column, the group by country. So if I decide to run just these two columns or just these two queries, let's see what happens. Now, okay, so this what happens here is that it just went into the database and counted all the customers, right, in our database, all the customers, but it returned just Brazil because Brazil is the first customer on the table, right? But if I select all and do this, then it will give us the count of customers in each country. So what is this particular line? What's the function of this last line? Order by total customers in DESC. So DESC means descending order. So I want to rearrange this. If I want to know the country, the highest number of customers, then we can put this line of code, or want to rearrange it in descending order, starting from the highest to the least. So if we should run this entire line of code now, highlight and run, hit the play button, you can see that USA is the country with the highest number of customers. It has 13 customers, followed by Canada, followed by France, followed by Brazil. They have equal number of customers, Germany, United Kingdom, and so on and so forth. So this is our first query we've written in our class, and it's on aggregation function. Congratulations to you if you are able to run this query. Well done, well done. So this is where I'm going to stop this lecture or this lesson. So you're expected to go back to your classroom and then run these other queries as practice. Try to calculate the total sales for each invoice, right, by running this query. Then find the average track length for each genre. Then also determine the number of tracks in each album. And finally, calculate the total number of tracks for each artist. So by running these queries, you are able to get each of those outputs. Yeah, so go ahead, practice, practice, practice. If you have any questions or any concern while running your query, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or any of the support tutors. Thank you for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Bye bye.